And the Q&A session, it's a 2-hour session. So the Q&A session is planned at the end of this at each of the section, but you can put your question on the chat box, for example, during the technical presentations, and I can interrupt the speaker just to make the questions, and so you have the answer, and I think that's it. So here I will give you a very brief summary of the dRural. Probably you already know the main goal of the project, that is to become a service marketplace for European rural areas. So the goal is to co-develop and implement a platform, a service platform, to deliver different services for rural citizens in different locations. So, and also to ensure successful and platform successful services and sustainable. For this reason, as we are dealing with services, it's important to enlarge the ecosystem. So the open calls here are to will support this ecosystem building of services. And so in this project, we offer different types of open call. And today, specifically today in this webinar, we are going to discuss the open call for regional demonstrator complex service providers, in which a third-party company that is not part of the consortium will have the opportunity to come on board to connect their platform to the dRural solution and piloting it. Of course, the company will be funded, and it's a very good opportunity not only to test the solution, but also to bring more ideas and interactions and enlarge the network, not only for dRural, but also for the companies that will come on board. Here is just in terms of number, dRural kicked off in January 2021. So we are moving to the last year of the project in 2023. It's a 42 months duration project. Third partners around Europe, so it's a big consortium and composed by companies, different organizations like SMEs, research institutes, and different universities and different companies that came together to demonstrate this platform in 4 regional demonstrators in Spain, Extremadura region, Sweden, Croatia, and the Netherlands. So today, as I mentioned, the agenda we will start with a very brief explanation about the open call itself. That will be presented by Dusan from Food Scale Hub. Dusan is the open call manager. And then we will move for the technical part of the session, and Roberto Jimenez will present the dRural meta platform concepts. And then we move to a walkthrough of the platform with the Carlos Corrales. Then we move to the Q&A session, but as I mentioned, you can put your questions on the chat box, and you try to answer very quickly. So that's it from my side. I will leave the floor to Dusan. So I will stop here I will share your screen, Dusan. Just check me if it's okay for you.
Thank you.
Just one moment. Here. Let's see here. Can you see the screen, Dusan?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I cannot see this. Just one moment.
Okay.
I'm having some technical issues here. Okay. So let's go here. Now I can.
Is everything okay now, Luisa?
Yes,
Okay,
everything's
good.
okay.
Thank you. So hello everyone from my side as well. As Luisa said, my name is Dusan Pevac. I'm from the organization Foodscale Hub, and alongside DevSuccess, we are working on the open calls within the dRural project. And this presentation will be focused on the open call for regional demonstrators with more focus on complex service providers. My presentation is divided into three parts. First one will be concerned with giving a general overview of the complex service providers within the open call for regional demonstrators. Then we will move on to the procedures after the call has been concluded, meaning selection of winning applicants. And finally, we will talk a bit more about the sovereignties project implementation, meaning that it will cover the activities after the winners have been selected and their projects start with their implementation. Luisa, next slide, please. In this slide, we have presented you with a brief overview of the most important information for you in order to apply for the open call for regional demonstrators. As you can see, the call is already open since 15th of October, and it will remain such until 15th of January next year, which means that there's still time to apply. The projects delivered by complex service providers will last for 6 months between May 23rd and October 23rd. And for this service, they will receive 50,000 euros in deliverable-based equity-free funding. This, of course, means that their financial records will not be checked by the dRural consortium, and that receiving the funding will be tied with the delivery of what was promised within the application. Nevertheless, you will be required to keep the documentation in case an audit from the European Commission were to arise. And for that, you can find more information in Annexes 2 and Annexes 7 in our open call documentation. And this funding will be divided into 2 installments. First will be received after the end of the first month of the project implementation, after the first report has been submitted, and the second one will be received after the end of the sub-project implementation period, which I will go into more details later. And of course, for more information, you are welcome to check out the open call section on the dRural website. And also, I would like to take the opportunity to highlight that there is also a different type of service within this open call called simple services, and you are invited to take a look at that as well. Next slide, please, Lisa. In this slide, you have an overview of the timeline of procedures, how it will look from the launch of the open call until the selection of winners and the start of the implementation of their activities. As you can see, after the call has been concluded, there will be an eligibility check, followed by the evaluation of application. And after the evaluation, there will be some post-evaluation procedures, which I will go into more detail later. The overall goal of this is, of course, to have the sub-project start on the 1st of May and to be delivered within the designated timeline. If you have any questions regarding the procedures of the open call, you are more than welcome to post them at DevSuccess, the dRural Complex Service Providers page for discussion, as this will be the practice of answering questions of all applicants in order to have the same information available to everyone and to ensure the competitiveness of the procedure. Next slide, Lisa, please. As I mentioned, there will be some procedures after the open call has been concluded, and I have grouped them into 3 main groups. The first one will be concerned with the eligibility checks of applications, and it will not go into the content of the applications per se, which I will talk about more. Next up, we will have external evaluation that will help the dRural consortium in choosing the winning applicants. And of course, we have the post-evaluation procedures in order to finalize everything documentation-wise in order for the sub-project implementation to start. Next slide, please, Lisa. The first step after the open call has been concluded will be the eligibility checks, which will be applied to every application that we receive, and it will be concerned mostly with the procedural aspects of it, such as legal existence of the applicant as an SME registered in a Horizon 2020 eligible country, making sure that they apply as a single entity and not grouped in a consortium of more organizations. Of course, whether they have submitted all the necessary documentation in order to finalize their application, the number of applications as well, because it will not be fair if a single applicant is able to apply many times for a single open call, and of course following all other rules of participation that are expressed in detail in our Annex 2B open call guidelines for complex service providers. After this procedure has been concluded, the ineligible applications will be discarded, and the ones that have passed the eligibility check will move on to the next stage. Next slide, please. After the eligible applications have passed their checks, they will be forwarded to the external evaluators that will be selected by our regional partners in our 4 regional demonstrators in dRural. And of course, these evaluators will be selected through a transparent process called Call for Expression of Interest for External Evaluators. This call is also currently ongoing, and you can find more information about the Call for Expression of Interest for External Evaluators on the dRural website, the page for open calls. These external evaluators will be going over five criteria within the complex service providers applications, namely alignment, excellence, impact, implementation, and team. Each of these application criteria will be graded with a mark from 1 to 5 and have their respective weighing factors. For more information regarding the evaluation process, please refer to Annex 2B guidelines for complex service providers available at our website. Next slide, please, Lisa. After the evaluation has been concluded and the evaluators have given their information, their evaluation sheets to our regional partners, consensus meetings might be held in case that the winning applicant cannot be selected based on the score alone, or if there is a great discrepancy between the marks given by separate evaluators. For example, if one evaluator is to give the grade 2 and the other one gives 5, it will be grounds enough for carrying out the consensus meeting where they will reach a conclusion and proceed with drafting the evaluation summary report. Speaking of it, upon the completion of these meetings, if they indeed do take place, a ranking list will be created, and the evaluation summary reports will also be created for each application that has gone into the open call for regional demonstrators. And these evaluation summary reports will be then distributed to each and every applicant, notifying them of whether they have been selected for funding or not, and giving them brief comments from the evaluators regarding their application as a whole, and giving them the average score for each criterion given by the respective evaluators. Next slide, please, Lisa. After the ranking list has been finalized, the contracting phase will be initiated with the winning applicants, where they will be invited to sign the sub-grantee agreement with the dRural consortium, where the details of the payments and the delivery of their sub-project will be specified. In parallel, an ethics screening process will be conducted by dRural partners, and this process will focus on the complex service providers that have been selected for funding in the dRural open call for regional demonstrator, as well as some of the simple service providers I was mentioning at the start of my presentation, but only for those that the evaluators have raised concerns about. And this is an interesting process, the ethics screening, because it will influence the deliverable or the report that will need to be submitted to the dRural consortium in order to receive the respective funding. Next slide, please, Lisa. Now comes the fun part, the implementation. As I mentioned already, the implementation of the open call for regional demonstrator complex service providers will consist of two reports over the 6 months that it will run. And they will need to submit these reports to the leading promoter of the regional demonstrator in which their service is being applied in. The first deliverable will focus more on planning, meaning that they will need to provide a more detailed plan compared to the one they have given in their open call application, while the second one will be carried out only after the implementation period has already been completed, and it will focus on results achieved, lessons learned, and of course the potential improvements for the dRural platform as a whole. If you would like to take a more detailed look at the deliverable, we have uploaded a model deliverable on our website in the open call section, which will of course be finalized by the time the contracting phase is initiated. Next slide, please, Lisa. Now I will go a bit into more detail regarding the deliverables. As I mentioned, the first deliverable will be submitted to the dRural consortium, more specifically to the leading promoter of the regional demonstrator in which the service is being provided after the first month of their sub-project implementation. And it will focus on three main areas: the platform, the implementation of the service, and the ethical part that has been addressed in the ethics screening process. And of course, in this part, a detailed plan in each of the months to come will also be required. After the deliverable has been submitted, it will be reviewed by the leading promoter of the regional demonstrator, and upon its upon being given successful feedback, the funding will be released in the second month of the sub-project implementation. And next slide, please. Regarding the final deliverable, or the second deliverable that they will need to submit, it will of course be submitted to the leading promoter of the regional demonstrator of the relevant region after the project has been concluded. And it will be reviewed in 1 month after the implementation has been concluded. And upon giving successful feedback, the payment can be distributed, although there is one more condition in the final deliverable, and that is the attendance at the review meeting in November 2023, which is 1 month after the completion of the activities, where the selected sub-grantees will present their solution and elaborate the work that has been completed over the period of 6 months, and of course answer questions from the dRural partners. This deliverable will be a bit more complex than the first one, as it will include a very important aspect for the rural product as a whole, and of course the very providers of the service, which will focus on impact and sustainability of their service. This will be a very interesting and a very important part, because in this part the selected sub-grantees will explain the business plan for their service in the future and how it will be sustainable and run without financial support from the dRural consortium. Of course, alongside that, we will keep some of main areas, which will of course be a bit more detailed, which is the platform, business, and of course ethics. And here we will have the opportunity to see the lessons learned from the winning applicants and make a conclusion with. And of course, the fun part and the best part of it is that upon meeting all these conditions, the winning applicants will be entitled to 35,000 euros. And I think that would be all. Luisa, next slide, please. Yes, that would be all from my side. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dusan. And now we are moving to the technical presentation of the platform. So I'll give the floor to Roberto. The floor is yours.
So good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Luisa. I do not know if I am to share my slides, or should you put in them, Luisa?
What do you prefer?
I believe it is better if I share them. It will be easier for switching the slides.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So let me find it. Okay, so you should be seeing right now the slides. I'm going to presenter mode. Okay, so here it is. So welcome everyone. I'm the technical responsible in the dRural project, and I will try to clarify here the main concepts of the call and to take into account what are the key aspects to consider when drafting or presenting a complex service. So as aforesaid by my colleague Dusan, we have two types of services in dRural. One is the simple services and the other one is the complex that we are also calling them native platform services. That is the focus of the call today. Just as a break, the simple services, it is also open for a call to make it 5,000 euros for them. And it is aimed at solo entrepreneurs, small businesses that they do not have IT capacities to provide or develop a full service coding. On the other side, the complex services, that is the focus of the present call today, it is required to have development skills. It is going to be based on SDK provided by the project, and it will have access to additional capabilities and components in order to develop and provide an advanced service, like, for example, IoT, AI tools, a dashboard, capacities or facilities for ATL extract and load capacities of data. So several capacities that they are going to be available for these complex services provided by the dRural Meta Platform. So more or less, you can see that the simple services, they're going to be possible to put in the marketplace using just a template, and it is already available and it can be already published in the dRural marketplaces, the different regional marketplaces. On the other side, the complex services, they follow to the main issue of the project, and it is the call that is financing this project by the European Commission, is boosting rural economies through cross-sectoral digital service platforms. This means that the main concept behind a complex service is to integrate an external existing platform with data. I mean, data that is being generated in other services, data that is being generated in, for example, available public platforms, whatever platform data existing that you plan to incorporate to your complex service. This is the fundamental pillar in order to prepare a good proposal. And of course, the other key aspect to take into account when preparing and presenting a complex service is that it has to make use of the core Meta Platform functionalities. And this is, let's say, twofold. On one side, it must be advertised through the dRural marketplace. That is, let's say, the entry point for any service, either simple or complex. And it must make use of any of the capabilities being offered by the dRural core Meta Platform. And this is the functionalities for IoT, this is the functionalities for prediction, this is the functionalities for dashboard, whatever. So let's have a further look into some examples that we have already discussed into the consortium. And what first is important to take into account is that complex services, as the word is saying, it is for services. So it's not for selling goods. We are looking for proposals of service only. Also, for you to bear in mind is that the platform is not certified and is not going to be certified during the course of the project for handling sensitive data. This means that you should not put in the platform, in the dRural platform, I mean, health sensitive data or financial sensitive data. Of course, it is fine if you have it in your own platform, if you have it elsewhere, but this kind of sensitive data should not be handled in the dRural platform during the course of the project. With that said, for example, some services that could be eligible to fulfill all the conditions is, for example, a multi-purpose riding service that is making use of IoT sensors to get information about road status. It is making use of availability of chargers. So this data is coming through existing data platforms. And at the same time, is offering a service for citizens in a city or in rural areas in order to share rides, in order to hire rides, or to be used by other services, either public or private. Another one, for example, that is being developed also in the frame of the project by another partner is the capability to access to public or private facilities. So making use of authentication, making use of smart key locks, and making use of an app, a citizen, a user will be able to access to a facility in an integrated fashion. Or for example, the third example that we are proposing, and of course there can be many, because in the moment that you integrate existing data from whatever source, either public, private, IoT, devices, also data coming from many public sources, and you will a service in order to deliver a functionality to a user, to a citizens that is eligible and what we are looking for. And the third example, for example, is attendance to events with booking capacity. So you need to integrate with systems that can measure the current capacity, can measure the booking, can measure how many people is forecast to attend. So this is another example, another possibility of a complex service. So we have summarized in a couple of slides the main rules for this. Of course, you have them in the guide for applicants, you have them in all the documentation, but here let's say the very, very main rules that you must take into account when proposing a complex service is the first one, that is the key behind the project, is that you must interact with an external data platform, providing data, providing status of sensors, providing public data, providing whatever data you intend to use for drafting your complex service and providing it. And of course, and this is the other main leg of the project, is that you must make use of the dRural core meta platform. And you have, during the course of your experiment, to provide requirements to us in order to improve or to detect any bug that must be solved. So that is your work for us during your grant, and this is what the project gets for your integration with us. Of course, we are looking for complex services that are clearly defined, that they have a very clear definition of what they intend to do, what platform they intend to integrate, and more or less how they will work. Of course, it has not to be, and this has been asked previously, a full detail of the JSON, for example, APIs, but we need to know that you have a clear idea what you intend to deliver and how things will work. Not a very low level, but a high level. You can make use of IoT sensors or not. It depends on your complex service. It's not something that it's compulsory for you to have. Another important consideration is we are not looking for copy-paste services already in the market that are put in our platform. So if the service is already being offered elsewhere, we are not looking to a translation to our platform. We are looking for something that is new, that is not yet being offered in the market, and that can be value to us. Of course, a service that it is already in the market, but you add functionalities, significant functionalities, and you incorporate new things, and you deliver it through our platform, that is eligible. But if you have a service that is being offered elsewhere, and you just copy-paste, and you put it in our platform without anything new, that is not eligible. So we are looking for actual work. We are not looking for translation, for copy-paste from another platform to ours. As I first said, all the services are offered through the dRural marketplace. This is the entry point for any consumer. Then it can jump to your platform. It can jump to your environment where you manage all the logics, where you manage everything of the server logic, and of course, making use of the functionalities of the dRural core meta platform. And something that is also to be taken into account is that we are also valuing the exploitation model. I mean, after the project ends, it will have a cost to offer the dRural platform. It will have a cost to offer the complex service through our platform. And for this, we expect that you are able to generate money, to generate benefits in order to sell the service and provide the cost fee that it will entail to have it in our platform. So we are not looking for services that they do not have a clear strategy of who is going to pay for them, either the customers, either a public assignment, either a public grant along the time. So you must propose and clearly specify what is the money sustaining your complex service after our grant is over. That is also important for us. So what is the dRural meta platform? You can see more or less the architecture here. It is already in the documents. So we have, let's say, in the internal part, the core meta platform. That is the part of the platform providing the core functionalities, the advanced functionalities for the complex services. and it is mainly AI, big data capacities, IoT handling and access to data, prediction models. I mean, there will be some available materials, some available trainings that we are preparing where you have access to fully understanding the capabilities. But at high level, these are more or less what you can expect. And then we have the different interfaces where the users, where the services, whatever stakeholder will access to the dRural meta platform. The main entry point for the consumers is the marketplace. So this is where the simple and the complex services are advertised. But then we have, for example, a developer side that is for developers that they are preparing a complex service. So you will have access to an SDK, you will have access to a documentation. Then we have the main, let's say, entry point for any programmatically access to the dRural meta platform, that is the API gateway. And it is very important for the complex services in order to make a capacity of use of all the functionalities of the dRural core meta platform. And also we have a connection point for any IoT device. So in a nutshell, this is the overview of all the different pieces and the different stakeholders where they will enter to the dRural meta platform. Now we have a couple of slides for this explained in a more, let's say, test fashion, but it is more or less what I was saying. So the four key pieces is the marketplace, is where we have the simple and the complex services exposed. And also it is where the booking, the management of the complex services is handled by the businesses, by the promoters, by all the stakeholders involved. Take into account that the complex services, they have far more complex accounting, and this will be part in the marketplace for the promoters and for the owners of it, to say it, and part it will be managed also through the dRural core meta platform. Of course, you will always receive the information related to your consumption, the information related to your accounting of the complex service. Then we have the piece of the core meta platform, that is the part of the dRural providing these advanced functionalities, as I was saying, and it is mostly IoT, mostly advanced artificial intelligence, recommendation engines, big data capacities, accounting, monitoring, access to dashboards, several functionalities that you will have access to prepare your complex service in detail. They are fully listed in the documentation of the call, but more or less you can have this overview of them. Then there is this API gateway module that is the entry point. And one interesting thing about it, and we are finalizing right now the integration of this module with the core meta platform, is that it is going to implement the MIMS standards. So the MIMS, if you are not familiar with it, is a set of standards being promoted at European level by the European Commission that should facilitate the interoperability and standardization of data platforms, especially for smart cities across Europe. So this gateway will implement these MIMS, the valuable ones, because this is also being specified right now, and be available for you to access to all the capacities of the dRural meta platform. Finally, the dRural SDK, that will be the support or the facility for you to implement your complex service, making use of the capacities of the dRural. Then, as I was saying, on one side, once you are selected, awarded a project, you will have access to more detailed training materials, the recordings that we are having right now about the way to make use of the dRural core meta platform, the functionalities fully detailed. Still, you have a very technical document available for you to check, that is the FIBO manual, where you can check the APIs, the endpoints. It is, of course, since this is being developed right now, this is at the end a research project for this platform. Everything is subject to updates, is subject to improvements, but you can get a very good understanding of what are the full technical capacities of the core meta platform. But as aforesaid, in your proposal, we do not require you to fully specify the JSONs, the API entry points, all the very low technical details. This is not required for you to provide in your proposal. What we want to see is that you have understood the concepts and that you are following the rules for a complex service, all the important points to have into account, okay? And at the same time, you will be expected to provide feedback to us through forms, through, let's say, we will prepare some specific points where you will be able to interact with us about bugs, inputs, improvements that you would like or expect to see in our platform. And that's all on my side. I do not know if there is any doubt or anything you would like to ask, or Luis, I do not know if we are leaving the doubts to the end.
Yes, we will have a Q&A session, but of course people can place their questions on the Q&A box, and then we can answer it during the presentation. So thank you very much, Roberto, for this presentation, and it was a very detailed presentation. So now I will move the floor to Carlos, but before I would like to ask if someone has question, as Roberto mentioned. I don't see a very specific question here on the Q&A, Roberto, so we can move on. But if during the session any question come, we can answer it. Daniel has a question here on the Q&A.
I mean, I cannot provide assessment on individual proposals if something is eligible or not. We can say as long as the rules are followed, this is eligible, but not on specific things proposed by participants. That will be evaluated by the rules.
Yes.
Is that right, Luisa?
Yes, that's correct. And I also would like to add that if your platform offers services according to that arenas presented, okay, we will be glad to evaluate it and check the potential of your proposal. Okay. So thank you very much, Roberto. So I would move the floor here to Carlos. So Carlos, the floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you very much, Luisa, and thanks everyone for coming. I'm going to share my screen, so please let me know when you see it so that I can start.
Yes, I can see it.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to give a quick overview on the whole platform and what you can do in order to create these complex services using it. So the platform is based on Fireware, as it has been explained before. For those who don't know about Fireware, Fireware is becoming like the de facto standard for creating smart solutions on any kind of smart domain. It means smart agriculture, smart cities, smart whatever, smart industry. So it's an open source framework for creating these solutions. And what we created in this project was a core meta platform that, using the open source modules, enables the user to create the solutions they want without the need to coding. Okay, so the most important part is that in case you use the platform and its interface, you don't need to code. It's a no-code platform, and everything can be done without code. But for the complex services, as Roberto explained, we are hoping that you create complex solutions, and it requires to code because you are going to be creating like services on top of the functionalities of the platform. So let's move through the platform. I'm going to explain you a little bit, and I'm going to show you how you can create your own solutions. So for instance, here we have a dashboard which is showing the potential of like having different data sources from different kind of data. So for instance, here we are representing the city of Sevilla, which is where we come from. And we have data coming from open data data sources. Okay, so we have here, for instance, the temperature, humidity, and the noise level taken from the open data systems. We can have information about the environmental quality and showing it in a heat map here, where we can see where the sections of the city that is like has a lower quality environment. And you can do anything you want with the different different widgets. Sorry, just clicking on the edit module, and you can here change the type of map, for instance, and move it into different versions of it, or you can modify the colors. For instance, here we are using a heat map, but if we disable it, we can modify the color of this kind of layer that we are showing here. So everything can be done by the user, and even here in the advanced legend settings, we can have different range. For instance, in this case, we are measuring the carbon monoxide. So we can have between 0 and 100, we want to have this color and blah, blah, blah. So we can have like different alert colors directly in the map widget, and this will be like visible directly by the user. So I need to enable again the heat map to have it as it was. So that you can see more kind of widgets we have. So we have here, for instance, a historical data management widget in a line, and here we can filter directly the different lines that are shown, and we can zoom in and out in the timeline. So it's really easy for you to do whatever you need. And moving to other kind of data sources, because we were talking about environmental quality data sources. Here we have, for instance, the parking occupation of different parkings in Sevilla, and we can see the occupy the spaces, and we can see the ones that are free or available. And if we click on the different parkings, we can have the different spaces that are available and occupied and reserved and all this stuff. So it's really easy for the end user, let's say, to see the information using the platform, and everything is on the same place. And you can measure, for instance, energy consumption in different buildings or whatever. So the power of the platform is that it's a horizontal platform. It's based on standards, and you can use it for creating different kind of services. Also, in the different dashboards that you create, you can have like general filters for filtering all the different information using time-based filters, and also geographical-based filters in the map. And you can also here generate reports. Okay, so in the configuration, you can like create a PDF file that is sent by email to the users you want about the status of the dashboards in a specific time. So you can configure here a schedule, and I don't know, I want to send an email weekly on Fridays with the information that is shown here. Okay. So this is about dashboards. I will move, well, I'm going to show you a little bit more about what you can do with the dashboards here. For instance, if I add a new widget, just to show you the amount of widget we have available and what they can do, we have bars widget in order to represent data in real time, as well as the percentage or the numerical one. The lines widget that we showing the historical information, maps, tables, needles. We have those two for an on-off and a slider, which are for sending commands to device, which is really powerful. Also, you can operate on the different devices from the platform and from the widgets, from the dashboards directly. The image widget, which is the one we use as a header. The link widget that we will show before, that is like a map, and depending on when you click on the map, the widgets use modifies their value. HTML widget for creating your own widget using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code. A parameterized test, which is a paragraph including different variables. An issues list for showing the issues generated in the platform with the issues management. A container, which is like a container of widgets, and you can put on inside of it different widgets, and then you can move like the whole container together. The carousel and streaming widget, this is for showing a carousel of images, and this is for showing a video streaming of a camera. So this is the library. We are continuously increasing it, and it's powerful. Moving to the modules of the platform, I'm not going to talk about people because this is an administration side. It's for creating users and user groups and all this stuff. But talking about the data, I think it's important for you to know that we can connect to the platform devices, and we can connect external data sources. Okay, so talking about devices, what I think it's important, I used to start talking about the different data models. So data models is a way for you to connect devices using a standard structure. Okay, so we used to use the smart data models. Models. I'm going to write. I'm going to open here. Well, I cannot see my screen with this. Sorry. Well, smart data models. Let's see if I can. Okay. So here. So this is a program that was led by the Fiverr Foundation, EUDX, which is the like the organization that is standardizing the smart cities in India. TM Forum, which is an European program also for standardization, and the Open and Agile Smart Cities, which is part of this consortium as well. And they together are generating a set of data models for standardizing the way that the different entities are connected to platforms, and in order to make the different solutions interoperable. So we suggest you to use these smart data models. For instance, if you are creating an application relating to parking, for the parking spot model, we suggest you to use this model that is defined by these entities and is going to become the standard. And if you use this, you are going to guarantee that you are going to be interoperable with other, for instance, Fiverr-based platforms. And this is powerful for you because your services that you are generating on top of our Fiverr platform will be also directly connectable to a platform that is also based on Fiverr, which are going to be most of them all around the world. So here in the smart data models, you are able as a user to create your own data model or to use a data model that is based on the smart data models one. So once you have the data models, you will go to the IoT devices section. So here, the user directly can create their own device, and they can these devices can be created from scratch or can be created using a data model. And in case you use a data model, it's really easy for you to connect or to create the device. So I'm going to be using one for smart luminaires. Okay, so here you have some metadata for using the devices, or for structuring the data in the platform, or for allowing the device to be published on as open data source or whatever. And then as you are creating a specific device, you need to include here the ID of the device. This is a unique ID that is used to be in the firmware of the device, or if you are a hardware developer and you are creating your own device, you will have to include that in your firmware. So for instance, we write here whatever, okay, because we are not going to create in it. We write here a name if we wish, and a description if we wish. Then we configure the protocol for connecting that device. We allow here to connect using the Fiverr IoT agents, and these are open and standards protocol for connecting devices. So we have ultralight and JSON that works on top of HTTP, MQTT, and AMQP. Okay, so these are really standards. And also we have Sigfox and LoRaWAN for connecting using those kind of protocols or networks. Once you have configured the protocol, you will go to the properties section. In case you used a smart data model or a model that you created before in the platform, because it's open to be created, you will have here, as I have right now, the different properties already configured and available, but you can also add new properties or modify the properties here. So you can have different kind of properties. You can have commands, which is when the platform send a actuations commands to the devices, for instance, change your mode or send me a notification or whatever. Active attributes, which is when the devices send information to the platform by themselves. Okay, so for instance, every 1 hour, the device send the information related to the energy consumption or the voltage or whatever. And static attributes, which are attributes that are like more metadata or something like that, that are not going to be modified by the device directly. But for instance, if the device doesn't have geolocation, you will use, well, they have a geolocation, but they don't have GPS that is going to be sending the information. You can have a static attribute for that. So we will click next here and you will assign the permissions there. So assign the permissions is sharing your data sources with other users in the platform. So you can make the data source public, which means that anyone in with logging into the platform will be able to see the device and its data, but will not be able to modify their information. But you will be also able to share this device with other users in write and read mode. And also you will be able to share with a group of users in share and write mode. So you will be able to share these devices with other people in your organization, or you will be able to share it with the people in the dRural consortium or whatever you need. So I'm not going to be creating the device just to avoid adding some noise to the platform, but I'm going to explain you also about the IoT devices groups. So the IoT devices groups is a way for generating several devices of the same type, into the platform. Instead of needing to create the devices one by one, you can create a group, and then all the devices that share the same data model will be able to connect in case they use this API key. So what the wizard gives you is an API key when you finish, and you use this API key for connecting the devices into the platform. It's like a password for connecting into the platform for the devices. And they will be able to connect directly to the platform, and they will be generated as a single device in the platform automatically if you use this API key. So yeah, that's it more or less about device. In case there is any question while I'm talking, please ask in the Q&A section and Luisa will tell me. So more things that can be done with the platform. We can use, for instance, the ETL module for connecting external data sources into the platform, as Roberto said before. For the ETL module, what we use is NiFi, Apache NiFi. It's an open source tool that is connected to the platform. And what you can do here is creating different ETL flows. ETL means extract, transform, and load. And it's for connecting into external data source and then translating the information into the one that is available in the platform, modifying it to what we support in our API, and then load the information into the platform. So you can connect almost to anything you want with this. I'm going to show you a little bit the different processors that are available, but there are 288 processors here, and you can connect to WebSocket, to Azure or AWS modules, databases as MySQL, Mongo, whatever. You can connect or add files directly that are available on an external URL. So it's really, really powerful. And with this, you can connect solutions that you already have. Moving forward, you have also the possibility to export or publish information in the Open Data Portal. So in case you want your solution to export data as open data and make it available for external users or third-party users, you will be able to do it. So, and it will be published in the Open Data Portal. Let's talk a little bit more about the business intelligence part. We were talking before about dashboards, but I'm going to show you a little bit how easy it is to create a dashboard. So here in the left menu, we can configure this left menu as we wish. And for instance, from here, we can add a new entry and say here the dRural webinar. And if we click next, we can connect this entry in the menu with a dashboard, with an external application if we want to embed something here, and also with no content, which means that it's going to be just a new section in the menu that is going to be like child menus. So if we click here in dashboard and we can create one from scratch or create the menu entry from an existing dashboard. So if we create it from scratch, this directly will create the new section in the menu, and we will have this whiteboard to start creating our dashboard. So we are going to create a dashboard really quickly just to show you how easy it is. So I used to start inserting a header and using an image as a header, selecting the image we want, for instance, this one related to agriculture, and we can use, for instance, this color on top, and yeah, we create the widget, and that's it. It's really easy, as you see. I used to include also here, for instance, a numerical widget for showing some kind, well, let's do something interesting, temperature, for instance, and we select as data source this environmental quality sensor, and the unit is in Celsius, and we select the temperature from the environmental quality sensor. This shows a preview how it is going to look, and then we can assign permissions, and that's it. So it's, as you can see, in less than 1 minute, you can have the widget you wish and with the information you wish. If we want to modify here the color, we can modify the color when it is positive, and instead of using the green one, we can have the blue one, for instance, or the purple one, the one we prefer. And yeah, I'm going to insert, for instance, now a link widget so that you can see this also. We select here the link widget, and we, in the category for the link widget, we select the environmental quality, and we select here the devices that, for instance, these 3 environmental quality stations. It again shows a preview of how is it going to look like, and yeah, it is created. So for the link widget, the power, as we was explaining before, is that you can add widgets that are linked to this main widget. And if we click now, it says you don't have any link widget, please add your first one. And if I click here and I select, for instance, the needle widget, and I see here, okay, I want to show the average temperature. Okay, so we select the temperature attribute, and we select the operation we want to do for when selecting more than one device. So if we select the average, now when we select a device, it's showing the information about this. If we select another one, it changes. Okay, but if we click and in those 2, it calculates the average, and if we click on the 3, it calculates the average, which is what we selected in the operation to do. So this is really powerful also because you can have visualization, a geographical visualization of your data sources, and depending on when you select here, you can see the information that you wish. So as you can see, it's really easy to create dashboards. In the BI section, we have also the KPIs, which is a really interesting point of the platform. In the KPIs, you can generate key performance indicators for your platform. And for instance, what you can do here is creating a simple KPI, which is, it can be automatic. It means that it automatically takes the information from one IoT device or one data source that is connected to the platform. Okay, it takes like the latest value of the data source you select. And you can have also manual KPIs in case you wish to have information that it's you want to add manually, but you want to have like a historical information about this KPI stored in the platform, because you don't have like the capabilities yet to connect any data source to this. But also you can have arithmetical operations for calculating the KPIs, sorry. So you can have like, if you look again for the environmental quality sensors, okay, and we select the ones, for instance, those two, and you select, I don't know, the temperature and the humidity, for instance, you can perform a calculation here, an arithmetical operation using the different IoT devices, and create a KPI which calculates the, I don't know, the maximal value of the temperature, and you can perform the arithmetical operation you wish. So this is also powerful in case you want to generate this kind of information based on several data sources that are connected to the platform. You can use devices, you can use data sources, perform the calculation you wish, and then generate a specific number or a specific KPI. So this is about KPIs, and then what you can do using your KPIs. So we have a new section that is called Smartboards, that is for let's say following up the different strategies and objectives you have with your standards in your organization or whatever. It's based on KPIs module, and if we select here, for instance, this city, which is it's not a real city, okay, it's something that we generated. We based on an ISO that is available and that says which are the things that have to be measured for a sustainable city. We have here like the score of the city based on the different KPIs that they are measuring, and the different KPIs are based on real-time information coming to the platform that is simulated for this city, but that can be real information. So we have here 4 strategies based on this ISO, which are biodiversity control and measures, energy saving, marine environment preservation, and recycling management and promotion. So this shows in a really interesting view for like the managers of your organization, how the different strategies are going and how the different objectives inside those strategies are going. And you can configure here the different weights that the strategies have for the calculation of this score, the SMART score. And if you access, for instance, one of the objectives, you will see the dashboard related to that objective and how it has been evolving during the last days. And this information, which is the KPI we are using, is based on real-time information from taken by sensors, okay, or by external data sources coming from the ETL flows. So this is also a powerful functionality that we have in the platform. And if you have like different smartboards that are measuring the same, you can compare them. For instance, we have here different cities using this ISO, and well, I selected the same, sorry. And you can compare how they are going in general terms, and also strategy by strategy and objective by objective. So this way you can see whether you are performing well, and you can see what others are doing in those objectives that you are going bad, in order to improve yourselves, for checking the best practices that other regions or other cities are doing, and seeing how they are performing and how you can improve. And finally, let's talk about a little bit about business analytics. Let's start with the rules. The rules is a really important module, and if we add a new rule to the platform, we write a name for it, we select the devices that you want to use for that rule, and a small description, and here you can have like different conditions that generates different actions automatically. So you can have a rule, for instance, saying, okay, in case the noise level is higher than 80 dBs, I want to whatever. So you can have more than one device in the same rule. You can have for the same device nested rules. The rules are like the conditions are nested in an and or conditions. You can include time windows. It means that this event has to occur several times per amount of time. So for instance, 5 times in 1 minute, okay? And you can have this rule working always or just in a temporal range if you want to just monitor this rule in a specific amount of time, for instance, during the nights or during the afternoons or whatever. And then let's move to the actions that are available based on the rule. So if we move to actions, you can update an attribute of an entity connected to the platform. You can send a command to a device directly from the rule. For instance, in case the temperature is too low, turn on the heat system or whatever. You can create issues in the platform and you can create notifications. This is the more important part, because with this, you can send alerts using emails, for instance, or using SMS. You can also publish tweets directly in the account related to your organization. And you can also connect to external platforms and send them notifications using HTTP requests. So you can send them a request using the different variables measured by the different data sources in the URLs, in the headers, in the body, whatever. Okay, so this allows you to connect our platform with external platforms. And for instance, if you are creating an application and you want to have notifications, real-time notifications, I mean, in your application, you can connect to an HTTP service, and this service can send a push notification to your application, and you will see the information there. So this is powerful in case you want to create alerts or events depending on the values measured. So if we use here, for instance, my email, you can write here a message wherever you want. The temperature is really high or really low. And you can add here the temperature value directly, and it will be sent in the email. Okay, and here you will have a review of the different established actions, and one single rule can create several actions. So this is also important. You can, with the same rule, send a mail and also send a push notification and send and create a tweet. Okay. So this is about the rules. I'm going to explain you a little bit about the data analytics and prediction sections, but this is something that we are still working on it. So the platform allows the user to upload AI models. Okay. The AI models needs to follow specific standards in order to be imported properly into the platform. But once the AI models are uploaded, you can create predictions as a user. Okay, so you can create a prediction using the model you wish from the catalog that is available. The AI models for sure are uploaded, and they are you can select as user the permissions you want to give other users to access the AI models. And I don't know if we select this one, then you will be able as an end user, let's say, to select the input data from the different attributes that are measured by or that are available as entry in those AI models. So you can select the data source you wish. For instance, in this case, the this model is for predicting whether firefighter's truck needs to have maintenance or not. So we select as input data this attribute for the RPM, the revolutions per minute, and then for the pressure we select the here the pressure, and yeah, you modify the permissions. I'm not going to create this because it's a little bit high. It requires high information or high resources for starting. But yeah, we will have here different predictions, and then the results of the predictions. Well, the predictions can be executed here, and you can see the results in the preview here. Okay. The parameterized widget, for instance. In the last time we executed this, it says that it needs maintenance with a really high probability for this device. So yeah, that was almost everything on my side. Well, there is one more thing that is related to the API manager that Roberto was talking about before. For the API manager, as he said, we are using or we are integrating right now an open source solution, which is called WSO2. And it allows developers, external developers, to have access to the different APIs that are available in the Core Meta platform. And for instance, we integrated the KPI management API, and you as a developer are able to access the different KPIs, try them out, and in case you want to check how they work. And you have here the different endpoints with an explanation of the body the request needs. You can try them out here in case you want and execute them to see whether how they work. And you will be able with this to see how you can implement, or the functionalities you have available to implement your own applications on your own services on top of the Core Meta platform functionalities. And also you are able to download here SDKs in different programming languages. For now, we are going to make these ones available, but in case you are selected and you want another kind of SDK, there are some more that we can add, and we can talk about that. In case you download them, for instance, in the JavaScript one, you download a zip file that contains the different functions, and you have also documentation in Markdown about the different endpoints and this stuff. So yeah, as I was saying, that's all on my side. I finished a little bit before because I was expecting for some questions. So in case you have questions now, please, related to the platform, I mean, you can ask them. And in case you don't, you can also write me by email, and I will be happy to answer you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Carlos, for all this detailed presentation. So we had a lot of questions during your presentations that
nice.
Roberto managed to answer some of those.
Okay.
That's why I didn't interrupted you. And there is one last comment. I think it's a comment from Veronique to consider that people with poor sight when developing the apps. So it's one question that I do here. So this platform is flexible enough to offer services for different people and in different areas.
Yeah. So yeah, as you saw, Veronique, it's really easy to create your own solutions using the platform. I mean, you don't need to use the API for creating solutions using the platform. You need devices or data sources, connect them to the platform, and then generate this kind of dashboards, which are as easy to create as the one we created here in the dRural webinar one. So it took me seconds to create a dashboard with the information about these environmental quality devices. And it's just checking the use case you have, checking devices or data sources that you can use to create them, and then generate the use case. Is not difficult. It's just drag and drop widgets, and it's really configurable using just visual stuff.
Okay, perfect. So thank you. So I think there are others in the chat box that Roberto managed. For example, I can repeat some for those who didn't visualize the chat box. For example, here is the do you have to share your source code? So Roberto said that the core meta platform is provided under a SaaS model, so a private code not provided. What is standard is the interface to the API gateway. So the marketplace code will be provided under open source model. So maybe Roberto can complement this, because it's very important for the developers that we are here being very flexible in terms of source code for all the developers to prepare a good proposal, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if Paul, which was the one asking the question, was asking also if they have to share with us the source code. So the source code they generated for the applications has to be shared with the dRural consortium or not. Maybe that's the question. I'm not sure.
If that's the question, the answer is no. I mean, they can keep full ownership of the code, and the IPR generated by them belongs to them.
Okay, so perfect. So I don't see any more questions here on the chat box. We still have some time because Carlo advanced a lot his presentation, so thank you for this. And if I don't see any questions here, I think we can close now. But first, I would like to say that the recording will be available right after this session, and we some of the audience asked the slides, so we are going to share also the slides. And meanwhile, you can check all the information on about the call and about technical issues on the website. And on the website you can also find the contacts, so that you can put your questions just after this session. If you remember something, just do it. And just to remember that the open call will be open by 15th of January, so we still have some time here to prepare your proposals. And we'll be glad to hear from you if you have any questions meanwhile. So that's it from my side. I don't know if any of the speakers would like to add something. No? Okay, so I think we can close the session. And of course, I would like to thank you, all the audience, for the great participations. We have a lot of people here and with a lot of questions, very relevant and useful questions. So thank you very much for being here with us. So thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.